Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP, who promised his brother and sister-in-law that he will pay for his nephew's college when it's time. Well, OP has now changed his mind and doesn't want to pay, and of course, his brother and sister-in-law are pissed off. There's a saying that people with good intentions make promises. People with good character keep them. Listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My brother and sister-in-law have always struggled financially, and I never really have. My brother and I had all the same opportunities. He just had an injury that made it much harder for him to work and put him in a lot of medical debt. I've always been able to work, never had any serious debt, and don't have any kids or plan on any. I did pretty well for myself and had more than enough saved to put the kid through college. So when their kid was very young and they were really stressing out over saving for college, I told them not to worry. I would put their son through undergrad or trade school or whatever he ended up doing. That was 12 years ago, give or take. He's now a senior in high school and looking at colleges. This year, I also got wiped out by the virus. I'm unemployed and don't know when or even if I'll get a job in my industry again the same as it was. I'm downsizing in all areas of my life. I'm not broke or starving or anything, but I'm being way more conservative so I can keep paying my bills until I get a new job. Part of this included having the difficult conversation with my brother and sister-in-law that I can no longer help with their son's college in the way I had initially hoped. That if I'm employed by the time he needs the first check, then I can help with a portion. But if I'm still unemployed, I can't help at all. And in any case, I can no longer pay for all of it. So he should probably apply for some scholarships or other means of funding. They are pissed. That doesn't even really capture it. Enraged is more like it. They think I should be in much more dire straits before I revoke my offer, e.g., selling my house and moving somewhere smaller, working outside of my industry in a temp job. I do still live a much more materially higher class of life than they do, so I feel like a colossal a-hole that I'm not helping their son in the way that I had planned. On the other hand, I couldn't have foreseen these circumstances in a million years. This isn't a regular recession. The world as we know it changed. But none of that is my nephew's fault. He thought he had this security all this time, and right when he needs it, it's gone. I'm devastated. But am I an a-hole? I think OP is in the wrong here. If OP has a promise like this hanging over his head for 12 years, he had 12 years to prepare. Assuming nothing would go wrong and that OP would be able to pay for it out of current earnings was sloppy wishful thinking. It sounds like OP's heart's in the right place. But OP made a promise and didn't keep it when it became difficult. Let's see if the community has the same opinion as me. Mrs. Don't Point at Face says, "You're the a-hole. You don't make an offer like that without making dead certain you have the means to follow through. You just don't." A hoe for a hoe says, "Hot take, but not the a-hole. Your brother and his family have a right to be upset, but your offer isn't an all-or-nothing deal. I feel like if someone has offered something like that, and something as unforeseen as virus hits, and that offer has been impacted, what can you do? I understand the frustration on their end, as this deal was made 12 years ago. However, you never fully withdrew your financial assistance, which still should mean something to them." Wistatic says, "You're the a-hole. If you offer to pay for something as expensive as college, you actively put money aside for it. You don't just assume you can whip off a check once per semester for tens of thousands of dollars. I feel like everyone here failed to plan." My baby daddy got another girl pregnant, long after we have been broken up, so no issues there. But now she has put him on child support, and it's going to really cost him between the two of us. We get him 1 week on, 1 week off. Technically. We switch on Mondays. When it's my week, he has no worries I have my son 100%. When it's his week, I have to pick him up from school and keep him until his dad gets off work. I also keep him anytime school is closed, and anytime he has to go home for illness, or when the school was closed for virus, which was 2 weeks at a time every time. I work from home, so it's always this way. So his dad picks him up at 18:30 or 1900 hours sometimes. I've even gone so far as to do the math. He is at school 19% of the time, with me 48%, and his dad 33%. And this time I feed, bathe, and put fresh clothes on my kiddo. It seems petty to say, but it all costs money. Like on my time, his dad doesn't worry, but on his time, I still spend money. He says he spends that money too, but he's not understanding that while yes, he does buy him clothes and food and everything, but that's only on his time. When I buy those things, it's his time too, and on top of that, the clothes I'm buying and shoes and underwear and socks are consistently disappearing to his house, never to be seen again. Now, he's constantly crying about how he just got a promotion and everything he worked for is going out the window because of the additional support to the new baby, and how he is going to be broke and can't afford anything and won't be able to afford his apartment. Knowing he had this expense, he upgraded to a bigger, more expensive apartment. Also, he is moving in with his girlfriend, so he's going to have two incomes. They aren't going to starve. He is very into brands and has to get our son Jordan and Nike everything. Just went to Vegas, always out spending money. So I'll agree, he won't be able to ball out like he is currently, but they aren't going to be homeless and starving. He wants me to help him out by giving him his support back, essentially trading one kid for the other, so he's still only technically paying for one kid. Now, I'm the greedy bee that just wants his money, which I don't agree with. I feel as if I owe him nothing. It's not my fault he got some other woman pregnant and now has to deal with it. Edit. His girlfriend and the woman he impregnated are two different women. Well, he shouldn't make babies if he doesn't want to support them. What an a-hole. When you have a child, you have to support that child. Hopefully, OP has the support agreement in writing. If not, OP may need to turn to the courts if he decides to stop paying. Aside from that, OP should not feel bad for taking child support. It's money for the child's care, which he has a responsibility to pay. OP should not listen to him and not let him make her feel bad. He's trying to manipulate OP in order to be let off the hook. Let's see what the community has to say on the matter. Helen Arth says, "You're damn right. It's not your fault, and it's not your child's fault either. You gotta remember, child support is for the child, not you. Your kid deserves the support of both parents to the best of their abilities. And as you say, it's not like he's gonna be homeless or starve." Tardy May says, "Not the a-hole. Being a parent requires making sacrifices, and he doesn't seem to be wanting to give up much in his life. He should have thought about the cost of 2 child support payments on his budget and put a condom on before doing the horizontal shuffle with another woman." My sister's 38 female, husband 33, died in a car accident early last year. It was unexpected. He didn't have life insurance, and they had just redone the house, so savings were low. They had a fabulous life, but tragedy struck before they could rebuild their savings and set up solid investment portfolios, or something of that nature. I don't know anything about investments. My sister receives SSA aids and other benefits, mainly due to my nephew, 4. But they stop once he's an adult, and it's far from what she's used to living off. I'm 30 male, been doing weekly childcare and helping financially since. I was clear about the money being short-term, ending December 2020, but now she wants more time and a larger amount. She hasn't found a job in her degrees field, and she's not settling for minimum wage. She's never worked. She's a homemaker, which she's great at, but she's become a bit out of touch with the working world in my opinion, and very entitled to others' money. First I was generous as her life was unexpected. Now I'm just vexed that I gave it. This extra cash not included in the monthly funds I wire to her. I said I would continue helping her out financially for another 6 months, as long as she got a job, any job, before end of 2020. She didn't like that at all. I'm probably an a-hole, cause I believe that an ultimatum may be the only way to get her back into the workforce. She's not been open to any kind of seminar or help to get her back on track. It's been well over 1.5 years since her husband passed. My parents and I are now fully supporting her to our own savings detriment. She isn't willing to sell her house and get something cheaper, or rent out the extra rooms or guest house for income. My sister has called me financially aggressive, controlling, overbearing, selfish, punishing her for being a stay-at-home mom and having no compassion or mercy many times now. There's usually a ungrateful to spend quality time with your nephew since you're, OP, unable to have your own. I'm tired. I know we have a strained history, but yeesh. I have my own project stalled, and this whole thing isn't fair to my girlfriend. I need to get my sister independent and set up correctly ASAP so I can get back on track and my parents off the hook. I'm not punishing my sister for her life choices, but I've been patient and she's not gotten with the program. So now it's get a random job, plus extra cash for savings from me, or be cut off. I may be the a-hole for the ultimatum, but I feel like my sister is being a huge, irresponsible a-hole too, though. Even if it's not as bad as me cutting her off financially. She's not going to get anything from her in-laws but a college fund and trust set up for nephew. They don't think highly of her being a stay-at-home mom since 23, and they've never hidden it. They probably think this is karmic retribution or something. Edited to add, she's a housewife since 23, but her late husband wasn't her first husband. She met late husband when she was like 30 and moved in with him during the separation and divorce from her first husband. Yes, the in-laws have money, and late husband has always demonstrated some level of irresponsibility, impulsiveness, and perhaps some Peter Pan syndrome type thing going on. That's why the in-laws bought the house in the first place, for their grandchild's security. No savings were even set aside for my nephew until they set up the funds, and fully controlled them. I have no idea how he didn't have life insurance. I didn't think it really possible, to be honest. But I didn't know how many things are set up for him. Maybe he simply thought he didn't need one given his family's situation. He was a bit of a classist snob in my opinion. But I didn't know they didn't have it until after his death. So I didn't ask many questions because it was moot by that point. And she didn't have answers to questions I did ask. I won't be giving her money past this year. Won't be cold and let her starve. But I'm going to have to push her till she faces her situation and decides on an option we've arranged for her. Honestly, I think the only person who is being controlling and aggressive is OP's sister. She was only a stay-at-home mom because her husband made enough for her to do that. As a single mom, her responsibility is to get off her butt and support herself and child. OP needs to cut her off now. She needs to have nothing in order to do something for herself. Let's hear the community's opinion. Mad Liza says, "Your sister sounds ungrateful and entitled. You were wonderful, helping her that way. But it has only served to feed the idea that your money is her money. Cut her off, move on with your projects, and don't feel like an a-hole because you're not." Dazed Catwoman says, "Not the a-hole. With the loss of her husband, her ability to be a stay-at-home parent disappeared. She needs to step up now. Some people never learn until they hit rock bottom." Tarayan JF says, "Not the a-hole. You should have completely cut her off a long time ago. She's an adult and not your responsibility. It sucks losing someone you love, but at some point, you have to make sacrifices and do what you can. She's taking advantage and playing the victim. Keep your original December 2020 timeline and move on. Being related doesn't mean you have to be someone's permanent doormat." I met my wife when she was 27. She was in college at that time and had a 1-year-old son with her ex-boyfriend. He cheated on her and left, but she wanted to be able to provide for her kid herself, so she went back to school. He was supposed to pay her child support and see him twice a month, but neither happened, and my wife was and still is too proud to do anything about it. She hasn't seen a dime of his money. I was 25 at that time and was in so much debt after starting my own company. We eventually got married, and she now has a great career, and my business is doing very well. I raised the boy as my own, and he's my son in every way possible, except legally. I love him just as much as I love my 2 younger daughters. I'm the only dad he's ever known, and that's what he calls me. Several years ago, my wife and I talked about the possibility of me adopting him, and she wants me to, but every time she brings it up to the ex, she still hates this guy. He drags his feet and says he doesn't want to. This man hasn't seen his kid since the boy was 1, by the way. One of the reasons I really want to adopt him is because I want to guarantee custody if anything were to happen to my wife. So recently her ex sent pretty much everyone he knew, by the looks of it, a long Facebook message about how his daughter has cancer and he can't afford to pay for her treatment, along with all the other medical bills and pictures of her in the hospital. Why he thought it was a good idea to send this to me and my wife, I have no clue. I think the man was desperate. He needed about $30,000 to make it through the year. My wife felt sorry for the kid, but didn't say much after. I have kids too, so as a father trying to provide, I could sympathize. $30,000 is something that I can definitely afford. My wife and I have separate finances. I thought about it and figured that if I could get him to allow me to adopt my son, I could give him the money. I told my wife, and she told me that she'd be more than happy if I was legally able to adopt our son, but she didn't want to be involved in any deals I make with him. Now I'm wondering, would I be the a-hole if I offered? A big part of me thinks that this is the perfect solution to make everyone happy, but a small part of me thinks I'm taking advantage of the situation. What do you think? Despite the fact that he abandoned his son, I still think it is a horrible thing to do. OP is planning to hold his daughter's life over his head, offering him the money to maybe save her, in return to losing his son. OP is basically planning to blackmail him to give up his son. OP is saying, "I'll give you what you need to save your daughter, but only if I get your son in return." A more ethical route here would be to petition the court to terminate his paternal rights because he abandoned his son. Let's see if the community agrees with me. Rusty0123 says, "Not the a-hole. You can offer, he can say no. But if he says no, I'd suggest you do what you should have done the first time he said no. Go file for child support. Make it an either-or. Either he's all the way in, he supports his child, makes regular visits, etc., or he's all the way out. Right now, he's treating his son like a fallback option. It's not fair for you, your wife, or the child. When you get the process started for child support, you can give him the option, again, to sign away his parental rights." Pissed Off Mama says, "No judgment. I honestly don't know, but this feels kind of yucky to me. Like you're buying and he's selling a child, and he's in a desperate situation with a child with cancer, as if the offer of money is being made and he'd accept under duress. How do you explain that to your son when he's grown? Your half-sister had cancer and he needed money, so we made a deal. I don't think the intentions are bad, and maybe the ends justify the means, but it gives me a lot of pause. I just see a lot of pitfalls in this." Small update. Based on some of the comments here, and a bit of thinking myself, I'm going to seriously consider the legal termination route, cause he has not paid child support, nor has he seen his son in 10 years. I still have to check with a lawyer on that though. Most importantly, I need to get my wife on board and assure her that she won't have to deal with her ex. She hated him for cheating, but she hates him even more for abandoning her son. Hopefully things will work out, fingers crossed. And also, no, I won't be giving him $30,000. I know his daughter needs it, but quite frankly, my family is my priority. The only reason why I ever considered it was to make sure my own family would be okay. Selfish, but I am first and foremost a husband and a father, so my wife and kids will always come first. I might donate a bit of money, but we'll see. Small update too. Wife is very open to the idea of getting his paternal rights revoked. I convinced her after I told her what might happen if ever something unexpected happens to her. Long talk, but she's more than willing. Going to talk to a lawyer friend who might know someone who can handle our case. Hopefully, we'll all have the same last name soon. Thanks again for convincing me not to offer the money. Just save $30,000.